So today, first thing, service management and NAV 2016. So first we will see what is service module and what are the capabilities of service module in NAV, and then we will proceed to the demonstration of what is in the NAV and how can we perform all the transactions. So basically, we can say the service, it's a very general term that anything which I perform in a particular product, we can call it a service. So I have taken the most appropriate definition and I've just mentioned it. For example, a service is a type of work performed by one or more resources and provided to a customer. For example, a service could be a type of computer repair. So it's very clear that service can be anything, a computer repair, a server repair, or a AC repair, let it be anything. Okay, so for that we can have a module in NIV. Through this we can manage the complete end-to-end cycle of service management. So I'll not take much time in this PPT. I'll just fast forward through it and then I'll go to straight to the NIV dashboard. So basically I have divided service module into four parts, that is service setup, planning service, service contract and delivering service. So today I'll be taking all these three parts, that is service setup, planning and delivering service. I'll be leaving service contract aside for the next session, and because we have a 1 hour limit, and if I take service contract that's going to take much more time. So these are some briefings, we can skip that for now. I'll explain that when I go to the transaction straightforward. So basically, as any module can be divided into three parts in NAB: setup, configuration, transaction, and reports. I've just mentioned. So here I have shown the complete setup which we have in service module. If you want to start and run the service module for any client, then you have to go through these setups. Now, if I explain these setups here, you'll not able to understand. So I'll go to the masters and then I'll explain. So I have prepared this PPT so that you can keep it with you. And once you have been familiar with the concept, then you'll be able to relate with this. So I've divided the setups into general setup, under which I have mentioned all these you can see, and then contract management. So these are the four setups specific to contract management. And then planning and delivering services. There also I have just bifurcated all the setups and I've shown you there. And like in other modules, for example, we have sales quote, we have a sales order, we have a service, a sales invoice. Similarly, we have here service quote, service order, service invoice, service credit memo, similar to that. Similarly, if you go to contract management, we have service contract, service invoice, service credit memo. The similar thing is there. And then we have to go to planning and dispatching, and we have these three tasks which we can perform that I'll explain in brief. And this is the last part in which, though there are multiple, you can say 20 to 25 reports in service module alone, but I have mentioned few which I found very important and most prominent. And this I have shown that this will be the NAV service dashboard by default, that is dispatcher customer service. Like we have sales order processor by default, we have account manager. Similar for service module, we have dispatcher. So this is the NAV dashboard for service module. And now the last part is IRIS. IRIS I'll explain in detail. It is a standard which is followed by the European Union for the maintenance, repair and maintenance of any equipment. So I'll just skip this part, skip this PPT and go straight to the transaction so that you'll be able to accommodate more of what I'm trying to say. So service module ranges from the service of a small equipment, let's say from your mobile, to the servicing and maintenance of some big equipments. For example, let's say one of our client like KYB, they manufacture elevators, they manufacture mixtures. So what they can do, whatever machines they are manufacturing, they sell them, and after, if they have sell them, it's quite possible that they provide the after sale service too. So what happens after they provide the service? Selling, when we do the selling in NAV, it's quite obvious that we prepare a sales order and then we do the sales shipment and we prepare the service invoice. So that equipment, let's say elevator, is sold by KYB. Now what happens after, let's say there's some fault in the equipment. After 6 months, the client has raised the issue. Then KYB comes into effect and it goes and it performs some services on that elevator, and after he solves it, and then he raises a service invoice. So what happens through this cycle? I'll explain. The first, what will happen? What KYB will do? The first thing, once he has come to know that some fault or that equipment needs maintenance, then he prepare a service. He prepare a service order. So like if any issues come to us, what we do first, we prepare a task in our system ACE project. So similarly, what we do, we prepare a task. Similarly, in the module, we can prepare a service order. And after a service order is prepared, the next process is to assign that service order to the person who is actually going to work on that. Similarly, what happens when we create a task, we assign it to the concerned person. And after it is assigned to the concerned person performs his task, resolves the issue, and then mark it as completed. Similarly happens in the service module as well. We prepare a service order, we assign it to the person, then the related person performs the task, and then he mark it as complete. And once it is completed, then we can convert that service invoice to service order to service invoice. Okay, so this is the basic part which we can perform in NAV. Now let's see how we can do all these things. So first I'll go to the setup. Now this part which I've explained is the execution part. Before executing it, we have to do a little bit of planning. For example, when we raise a task, I know that, for example, let's say Salish Bhai is working with me. So I assign it to Salish Bhai. Now I know Salish Bhai is a technical and is working with my project. So I assign it to him. So I know his skills. I know his areas. That's why I assigned to him. Similarly, in service module, all the resources can be tagged to a particular skill. They can be tagged to a particular service area so that I can assign it to the right resources. So all these is present on that day or not, whether his working week off is different, my week off is different. It may be possible in different companies that there are different schedules for different employees. So employees attendance also have to be matched with their capability and skills and with their available location. For example, if I have a client in Delhi, so I can assign a person from Delhi only to work on that particular issue. I can't assign a person from Ahmedabad who needs the physical presence there. So all these plannings can also be done here. So first I'll start with setup. So you need to go to department. Now you can see service is here, and we have three parts: contract management, order processing, and planning and dispatchment. So I'll explain what these three parts are. So contract management is like what I said for KYB. KYB is selling equipment, and also if he's selling equipment, the client is taking complete AMC from KYB as well. So that comes under contract. So under contract, we can have multiple contract templates in which we can devise multiple SLAs, and then we can assign it to the particular customer, and then we can manage the complete contract start date, end date, and the complete billing in that contract. So all these things can be managed into contract. Though contract management, I'm not going to take in this session, but I'm just explaining so that you have an idea what it exactly is. Now, if I comes to order processing, it's quite obvious that order processing is when I have booked my order, and then after booking my order, let's say service code, service order. These two parts you can say consist of order processing. So service code, service order assigning to the person. After the person has started his task on it, he has actually started working on that particular task, then that comes under planning and dispatching. So planning and dispatching consists of the point from where the resource has actually started working on that particular item or that particular task. Okay, so that comes under planning and dispatching, and he marks it as complete. So first I'll go to the setups. So service, you have to go to service, and then you have to go to administration. So here you will find all the complete setups department wise that you have there. So you can go, for example, I don't need to go to contact management to the contact management part. I can find it there. So the first is default service hours. So once I'll start explaining, you'll be able to catch it that why the setup is there. So quite obvious that the first thing I need to do is, for example, what I have defined here, I have defined the service hours. For example, Mindcode is working, let's say from 10 to 7. So I can define the starting time and ending time. But let's say 10 to 7 is one shift, and then from 7 to 11 is another shift. So let's say there are two shifts. So I have to define the service hours in which my company is providing his service. For example, I come from 10, I sit till 7. Some people come to 12 and they sit till 10. So these are the two different service hours. So default service hours is nothing but the hours in which a company is providing his service or open to the services. So that's why I have defined it here. For example, Monday 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I have to just straightforward define. Now, if my company is providing on Saturday also, I'll just explain. I'll just put Saturday. I'll just put the time here. Now, valid on holidays, like we have a similar boolean in our ACE management product, that this task, if you put a particular date and it falls on the weekend, so you have to check it. So similar thing is that it means that if something is a date is identified as holiday, then that on that date also you're providing service. You have to just check it. So default service was very simple. The day you have to select, the starting and ending time you have to define. Now from the work hour template. Now this was the second part I was discussing about. It may be possible that a company is working 24 hours. It is 24 hours open to the customers, but my shift is different. So let's say I'm working 30 hours per week. So I can define, I can just create a code, I can write the description and I can assign the hours. Okay, and whatever days from Monday to Sunday. And this automatically comes summing all these up. So why I'm defining this? Quite obvious that later on I have to assign it to a resource. Okay, so work hour template is nothing but the hours on which a particular employee is working. For example, let's say Gulshan is assigned 135 hours per month. So that is my per month week hour. Okay, so similarly we can assign it. Now after that you can go to report service zone. No report selection. I'll explain these two later before it is related to this. Now I have defined the default service hours in which my company is working, and I have defined the number of work hours in which the employees are working. Okay, after that I go to the skill codes. So simple master, just code and description. You have to define the skills, like this is technical, this is functional. If I consider Minecraft, and this technical is working in database, is database administrator. So you have defined it. A particular person working in NAV, someone is FNO consultant. So if you consider FN Minecraft, these will be the skills. Okay. So similarly, I can define the skills like office equipment, PC software, server, and networks. So it's very simple code and description, nothing else. Now, when I'm defining this, just keep in mind that these has to be later on allocated to the resources. That's why I'm defining it. So skill codes are defined. Now service zones. As initially I was telling you that I have to define the service zones as well. When it comes to the field service is a very strong part. In fact, Dynamics 365 has a separate application for it, which is called Dynamics 365 Field Service. So in field service, the person has to physically go to the client's location, and he has to provide the service, he has to do the maintenance and the repair, and then raise the service invoice. So in that case, it's very useful if I know that which of my personals are working on which regions, so that I can assign the nearby personal to that client and he can visit in the near least possible time and can repair the equipment. Okay, so that's why I can simply just code in description, I can define the service zones. Now if you come there, resource service zones. So I have defined service zones. Now resource service zones is nothing but the tagging of the resource with the services. Okay, see, for example, I have defined here Gulshan Subham. So I've selected Gulshan Subham and I have tagged it to the Midland. Let's say Midland, East, West. If you come to India, then I can define like that: North Ahmedabad, South Ahmedabad, North Gujarat, like that. So I have just mapped it. Okay, and even you can assign multiple service zones, that he can work on multiple service zones if an employee has changed his service zones. Earlier he was in let's say North Gujarat, now he's in South Gujarat. So also you can put the starting date from the date when his service zone is changed. So that can also be done. So this is a simple mapping: resource, service zone, and a starting date if you want. Okay. Now coming to, I'll explain these setups first and then I'll go to the service setup. Okay, I'll go to the troubleshooting. A contract management part, as I told you that I'm leaving for later. So these three setups I'll not be explaining. Service item group I'll be explaining because this is common to all. Now order processing, I'll come to troubleshooting. Now, isn't it'd be nice that if I have a similar kind of problem, then I get a questionnaire or I get a troubleshooting guidance. That, for example, if my laptop is getting heated, then I have to check few things, that whether the fan is working or not, whether the hard disk is okay or not. So here we can define some troubleshooting guides. For example, let's say hard disk failure. So I have to, if I go to hard disk failure and I click on edit, then you can see that one comment is there, what are the latest alerts in the event log. So what happens that if I as a consultant, let's say I'm working on an issue and that issue belongs to database, then I have a troubleshoot guidance that you have to check these few things first before arriving at a conclusion. For example, let's say network failure, they will find more records. Server failure. So for example, if the server failure is there and you are not at the client location, then you can ask the client. The first thing is that, is the power switched on? Is the server connected to the network? Is it possible to log into the machine or network or not? What are the error messages displayed, if any? So these are the troubleshooting guides which you can get at your dashboard. When this troubleshooting is assigned to a particular service item or a particular service group, then automatically when you as a person start your service on that, then you can click on troubleshooting and you can see that these are the troubleshooting guidelines which I first check. So these troubleshooting guidelines you can simply define. You just click on new and you can type any, let's say I'll put test, simple header and line, nothing else, and you can guide the document test description. So simply you can type here and you can prepare your troubleshooting guideline. Now service cost. See, service cost is something which is, the other than the normal cost which occurs while performing a service. For example, I'm performing a service and I found out that, okay, in this laptop, the hard disk is corrupt, so I have to change the hard disk. So that cost is the main cost which is put on while servicing that item. But there are few cost which is by default on the item. For example, if I'm a field service agent, let's consider Urban Clap. So if Urban Clap goes to any household for AC maintenance, let's say, then it's quite fixed that for going to the location, he will charge a travel fees as 100 rupees. Now, just for opening that particular equipment, he will charge more 100 rupees. So these kind of things, which is additional cost that can be mentioned here and then can be later tagged to that item. So for example, here you can define the code. Simply you can write the code, whatever is fine with you. And the cost type, you have three types, which is defined by NAV. You don't have a master of that, so you can't create any extra. So travel, support, and other. So for example, you're traveling to a particular location, then it's quite obvious that I'll charge 100 rupees. Now for support, just for the support, I'm providing support for this. Let's say if this is the problem, I have to open your laptop, then I'll charge this much. I don't know what is the issue. That can be identified later. But if I need to open your laptop, I have to charge this much. So you can put it there. So travel support other, for example, they have created it. So you can create it like that. And you can map the respective GLs also, so that is straightforward. The cost goes into that. And also you can tag the service zone code to that, so that it gets as per the service zone code, it gets filtered the default quantity and the direct unit cost. For example, I said 100 rupees or 100 rupees per unit. So in HSN SSE you can tag it here. So service cost, in this you are defining the cost which are additional to the actual services, like you're traveling, you're supporting. Okay, and then service order types. Now let's say if we get sales order type, similarly we can get service order types. For example, this is a service order for hardware services, this is for general services, this is for software services, If we consider mine code, let's say this is for networking services, this is for NAV services, this is for SAP services, we can prepare like that. So similarly, we have by default in NAV hardware, preventive maintenance, service, and software. So nothing, just code in description. You have to prepare the master and keep it yourself. This will be used when we prepare a service order. So while preparing the service order, you can tag it here. Okay. And then service cells. Now, what happens for the few of the things like big machineries, like elevators, you have to go to the client location, and these are not movable. So you have to do the service at their location only, and you have to raise the service invoice, everything at their location. So the resolution has to be provided at the client's location. But there are few things which has to get back to the company's location where only you can provide the solution, and then you send that equipment back to the client location. So for that, what happens when you get the equipment from client side, you have to keep it in particular cell. So this is how they manage it. So you have to prepare it into particular cells. So those cells can be defined here. Simpler, just number and description you can define as per your comfort. Okay. Okay, after that, service order status setup. Now, this is a service order, so it must be having a status. For example, like in ACE project, we have a task status as first status is to do, then in progress, then completed. So like we can define the service order status also, similar to what we do in ACE project. So the first status will be, and this is also NAV defined. You don't have a master for that, so can't define anything extra. So just pending, in process, finish, and hold. So the first status, whenever any service order I put into the system, this will be in pending. And after I assign it or the work is started on it, it comes to in process. And after that is finished, it goes to finish. And for the some reason, like we have on hold, so we can keep that on hold. Okay. And based on that, we can define the priority also. Okay, these priority are also NAV defined, no master for that. So high, medium, low, and low. So let's say if it is pending, then I'm assigning at medium high. In process, then high. Finished, it means low. Some task is finished, so we don't have a priority for that. So low priority. It's just simpler setup. So whatever setups you'll go through, those will be very simpler. Will not find anything difficult here. Okay, so service order status setup is clear. This is the status of the whole service order. This is found on the header of the service order. Now coming to repair status setup. Now repair status setup and service order status setup has a tight coupling in it. You can understand that service order setup is the status of the complete service order which is put on the header part. Now let's say against a particular service order, I have 10 items under servicing, and each item is assigned to a different person for repair. Now each item, one item is done, second item is pending, so that if in the line wise you have to update the details, that is called repair status setup. Repair status setup is always find in the line part, and you have to individually update it for each of the service item. So for example, this is also, we can define the code here. We can define the description like finished. So I've defined the description as service is finished. Now service order status, what we have declared in the first master, I'm tagging it here. So that's why I call that there is a tight coupling. Because what will happen if in the line of the service order I change the status to finish, then in the header also it will change to finish because there's a tight coupling. Now the priority low will automatically learn because it is tagged to this. Now you can see that I have a few booleans like initial, in process, finished, and partly serviced. So I can just check it. For example, I have created one finished, so I'm marking it as finished. Okay, something like service is in process, so I marked it as in process. Okay, now partly serviced, that's why I have marked it as partly serviced. So it create multiples and check the boolean. Now these booleans have few validations which I'll show you while I perform the transactions. Okay, for example, spare part ordered. So spare part has been ordered, so that's why it has not come, so I cannot proceed further. That's why the status is on hold. So you can see that this line is on hold. Okay, now here if you go right hand side, then you can find pending status allowed, in process status allowed. Now these are nothing but skipping of the status. For example, if I have checked this one, pending status allowed, then I can go from this status to in process status as well. For example, the first status should be in process, then the second should be in progress, then the last should be finished. What if I want to go from in process to finish directly? So I can check it here. So these booleans are just to skip the between stages. Okay, so if you want to create any new, you just have to click on new. It's very simple. So status is also done. Now this one setup we are left with, service setup. So this is the setup which is quite similar to like we have purchase and payable, sales and receivable, inventory setup, general ledger setup. So when you come to service module, we have service setup, one central setup in which we can have multiple validations and multiple default values. Now I'll explain these a brief. Uh, uh, Others can mute. Okay. Now, for example, you can see the service management setup, the general, the first warning within hours, send first warning to. Similarly, second warning within hours, second send second warning to. So like these, we have three. Now, what it means, for example, I have received the order that this is a service order has been booked. Now, after a service order has been booked, I get a particular time to address to it, which some people call it in official language as SLA, service level agreement, in which they have to define that if this is a live issue, I have to respond within 4 hours. If this is a report level issue, I can respond in 24 hours. So like that, I can define the SLA also. Now the first warning within hour 16. So what it means that the expected resolution time of this particular issue was 7th of May, 7th of July 2020. Now, at 10 a.m., let's say. So before 10 a.m., 7th of July 2020, before 16 hours of that, the send first warning to mail should get a prompt mentioning that this particular service order need your attention, because this is still in the first stage, that is to do. Let's say if we consider our task, the first stage is to do. So nobody has addressed it. If somebody has addressed it, it must have gone to in progress. So let's say if an ACE project, it is still in to do, then I want that if the resolution time, the resolution date was this, so before 16 hours of that, a mail should be sent to that person. Similarly, the second warning should be sent before 8 hours, because as the resolution time, as the committed date of the resolution is coming near, I should send multiple mails, multiple notifications. So that's why here in NAV, three notifications are provided. The first, for example, here I have set as 16. So 16 hours before the committed resolution time, one notification will be sent. The second will be sent 8 hours before the committed resolution time. Next will be sent 2 hours. So that in the service module, what matters is the timely resolutions. So that's why these all capabilities are given. So okay, so the first, second, and third warning is clear. Now coming to service job responsibility code. Now if you click here, you can see we have a service, sale, purchase, marketing, and all these things. Now what happens that we may have, the contact cards, that we can create multiple contacts in a particular customer. So we have customer master, and under one customer we can have multiple contacts. Now those multiple contacts are not necessarily what we interact with when we are in service module. Those may be from sales, those may be from marketing and HR. So I can tag here job responsibility code as service, and that same job responsibility code is tagged to the contact as well. So what happens when I select a particular service order and then I select a customer on that, then automatically if I have four contacts tagged under that customer, and in one of the contact the responsibility code is service, then automatically that contact will be fetched to the service order or header. Okay, I'll show you this by going to the contact card, so that you get an idea. Example, I go to contact, Let's say David Hodgson. I edited. See, if I go to person, then here is job responsibility. Okay, so what I have done, I have tagged it here service. So this is where you tag the job responsibility code. Now if you go here, then something else must be tagged. So as only in this I have checked it, and only in this, under this company, for example, if I select this customer, then under this customer only this contact has that responsibility code checked, so automatically this contact will come into the card. Okay, so next service calculation method. Now this also belongs to the part which I'm leaving in this session, but I'll explain what it means. It has two types. Okay, now you must be carefully read the name, that next service calculation method. So when will be the next service? How the next service will be calculated? If I have performed one service today, the next service when it should be done, how the system calculates, we have two provision. One is planned and one is actual. Now what happens, I have planned this today is 6/6. Now first service should be on 6th of 6. Then automatically after 30 days, next service will be on 6th of the 7th month. Now this is what I have planned. Now if everything is going right, the first service is done on 6th, then the second service is going to be on the 6th of 7th month. So that is fine. Now what happens if today the serviceman doesn't come up, doesn't show up, and hence the service is not done today. Instead it is done on 8th of June. Now in that case, the next service which is pending should be still on the 6th, which is planned, or as per as it is done on 8th, it should shift to the 8th of next month. So how it should be done? So if I keep it as planned, so it will go as per the planning. Even if in the current month the service is done on 8th, but in the next month the service will be done on 6th, because I have selected plan. If I select actual, then it will go on the same basis. If an 8th of current month, then it will shift to the 8th on the next month on the actual basis. So that's why planned and actual. So I've just explained the concept, but the actual application I'll not be able to show today. Now similarly, service order starting fee. Now if you want that a particular starting fee should be there by default whenever you start service on anything, so that line should be inserted by default, so you can tag it here. So what master we have created, the complete master is visible, and we can tag anyone we want. Now shipment and invoice, similar to sales and receivable setup. Shipment and invoice, so it's not to explain. Now one service item line per order. Now even the name explains it, one service item line per order. If I want that for each service item a unique service order should be created, then I should check it. Now, if I go to a client and I am providing a repair and maintenance service for his computer, and he asks me that my two of my computer is damaged, then I can't put two of his computer in a single service order, because this is checked. So this is the validation which this boolean comes up with. Now link service to service item. This is only efficient or useful when you allow multiple service items in a single service order. So what it does, that with each service item it gives you a tracking that against this service item, against line number 10,000 and item number this, these are the services which are performed, these are the resources which are allocated. Okay, so if you want line wise reporting and tracking, then you have to keep it checked. Now resource skills option, as I have shown you that I have created the skills master and I have tagged those skills master to the resources. Now what happens when I am assigning a particular task to a particular resource, and if that resource is not possessing that skill, then whether I should be displayed a warning only, or I should be just told that he is not there but I should be allowed, or nothing to be done. So if nothing to be done, then not used. If just to show the message, then code shown. If to restrict and show a warning, then warning display. Okay, so this is resource skills option is when the wrong resource is getting assigned because it doesn't possess the skill. Similarly, service zone, for example, the client is in west zone and I'm assigning by mistake a resource from south zone, then system will restrict me that the resource is from south zone, you can't assign it. So all these validations are by default there, so it restricts you to commit any wrong transaction. Now similarly, a fault reporting level. Fault reporting, this part also, this is a separate utility, a very good utility, and I believe it is very hard to use it in India, but it is widely used in all the European Union countries. So fault reporting in detail, if you want, I'm going to take in the next session. So I'll explain what does it mean. Fault reporting, for example, if you keep none, then while the resolution of a particular service order, it will not ask you to put what was the issue. You can just simply say that, okay, these are the resources utilized, these are the spare parts utilized, and these are the services which I have done, these are the additional costs. That's it. No need to put any reason that this was the fault, this is why it occurred, nothing. So if you keep it as none, you don't need to put anything. If you keep it as fault, you have to at least put that this was the fault, this was the fault area. For example, why the laptop was getting heated, because the fan was not working, so you have to put that the fan was not working. Now if you keep fault plus symptom, you have to put that the fan was not working and the symptom was that excessive no air was coming from the laptop and excessive heating was occurring. So fault plus symptom. Now fault plus symptom plus area, and in the bracket you can see IRIS. So IRIS stands for International Repair Information System. This is a standard which is accepted and was made official in 1995 in the complete European Union countries. Now it's still not in India, it's not mandatory. If the people want, they can use it. And I hardly believe anybody of our client was familiar with it. But it is a widely accepted phenomenon in European countries, and under this, they have a complete master of these are the defects, these are the resolutions, these are the symptoms. I'll just show you one Excel. I'll not go in depth, but I'll just show you the Excel. For example, symptom codes. So for noise event, for example, let's say rattle, clicking, click noise, cracking, they have a separate code. So 149 is not something random. This is something defined as per that iris code. 14A is whistling, 14B is bubbling. So everything is defined here. You can see that other display function, problem with the ambient light. So everything is defined, because when you're working with people whom you're providing these kind of services who are overseas, so there has to be a common platform, there has to be a common language. So iris gives us that common language. So this is the complete master which I have downloaded from the official European Union site. So I will share that also, and I'll explain that in the next session whenever we schedule it. Now, copy comments order to invoice and copy comments order to shipment. I don't think it needs an explanation. Logo position and document, no need to explain. Now, I'll just minimize this. Now, mandatory fields. Now, as the tab says, that whatever I put it as true, that will be mandatory in the respective transaction. For example, service order type. So we have just created the service order type master, like hardware and software. So we have created that. So if I put it true, then it will be mandatory. I will not be allowed to post a service order until and unless a service order type is put on that particular document. Okay. So similarly for all of that, for example, service order start mandatory. I have to put the status as order start and finish. It means I have to put the start date and start time in the document. If I haven't put it and I want to finish it later on, then system will not allow me. Similarly, contract response time mandatory. This is in the contract part. I'll just explain the meaning. Contract response time mandatory means uh, when I could try to convert a contract quote to a contract order, then the time has to be put in there. Otherwise, I will not be allowed. The response time has to be put in there. Otherwise, I'll not be allowed to convert a contract quote to a contract order. Okay. Now, unit of measure mandatory, quite obvious, as the name suggests. Fault reason code mandatory, what I've explained. You have to put the fault reason code. Salesperson mandatory. I have to put the salesperson on the header. Now this again defaults belong to the contract part. I'll just explain. The default response time in hours. You have to put a default response time. Whatever document you create, automatically this response time will be populated on there. The warranty discount percentage parts and service. Now, whenever we talk about warranty, it is in two part, always in labor and in parts. So you can define it here that, for example, in the parts I'm taking only 80% of your warranty, but in the labor I'm taking 100% of your warranty. Okay, for example, if any part is damaged, then I'll cover the 50% cost, but the 50% cost I'll take from the customer. So these things you can define here. And the default warranty duration is by default 1 year. For example, if I'm selling any equipment, then by default 1 year will be the equipment time, default warranty duration time. Now contract, this tab I'm leaving for the next session because all these setups related to that. Now the numbering part, similar to what we get in sales and receivable, purchase and payable, all the service order, service item, credit memos, we can map it here, and similar to the GST mapping part. So these are the number series, nothing different and specific to service. Now let's get back to, I believe we're done with the setup now. Okay, let me just check once. Okay, so we have covered everything, I believe. Use the fault reporting I'm not covering in this. We'll cover in this in the next session, as well as the contract management setups I have not explained. I'll cover it in the next session. Now, one is service item group. This is important, and this I'm taking because this is quite common. I have to, like for example, in item we have product group and item category. Similarly, in the service item, we can define multiple service item group. For example, let's say and the server, we have defined one group. For the memory, we have defined one. For the desktop, we have defined one. And the default response time hours, what I was explaining before, that a mail is sent before the default response time hours. So let's say, like we consider that if it is a live issue, then 1 hour should be the default response time hour. If it is a report issue, then 8 hours is the default response time hours. Okay, and this we have one boolean create service item, and let's say in the server this is checked. So what happened, this service item group, we can tag it in the item card. And if this service item group is tagged on the item card, and when we post a shipment with that item, then automatically a service item is created. Okay, so this is what this boolean does. If this is true, a service item will be automatically created on the shipment of that particular item. If not, then we have to create it individually coming to the service model. Now when I talk about service item, it just simply means that the service which I'm going to perform. So if I have, let's say in NAV, like we have bicycle, so similarly a bicycle, a service item will also be there. Now it is not a item, it is just a service item, hence no inventory and nothing. Just to make sure that I'm creating I'm putting a service on some item, you have to create a service item. Okay, now I'll just escape this part. Now I'll just show you how to create a service item, and before that there are three methods by which we can create a service item in NAV. The first method, which I've explained just now, that you can tag this service item group on the item card, and when we post a sales order or we post a shipment of the sales order, then automatically a service item will be created. This is the first method. This is useful when I'm selling an item and I'm providing the service for that as well. So items sales as well as the AMC of that item. So that is useful in that scenario. Now the second is I can individually go to this order processing, service items, and I can create the service item. I can click on new, like we create item, we can simply create it here. I'll show you the cart page and all the details. Now the third part is when I'm creating a quote, when I'm creating a service quote, at that time I can create the service item. For example, order processing, service quote. So I'll do one thing, I'll start the transaction as well, and then I'll show you the three methods. So the first method I'll start from now. What I'll do, I'll come to the transaction part. So I'll first create a service quote, then I'll convert that service quote to a service order. Then we will assign that service order to a particular resource. Then the resource will perform all his services, all his repairs and maintenances, and then we will post that service invoice. So this is the transaction we is going to perform. Now, so first let's create a service code. So just simply put tab. Here you have to select the customer number. So let's say I have selected this one. Okay. You can see even the contact. Now this contact, how it came, as I told you that I have a responsibility center, responsibility job I have tagged. So as per that responsibility job, this has come automatically. Okay. Now here you can see create service item. Now let's say if I try to create this, now I don't know what is the service item. I'm just preparing a quote. So when I need to give a quote, I don't need all the details of the item. So for example, I want to create here. Now what it says, description must have a value in service item. Now I'm preparing a service item, so I must put a description here, and it will create that item with this particular description. So let's say I'll just put test item 2. Now if we try to create service item, do you want to create a service item? Yes. Service item 45 was created. This service item does not belong to any service contract. You can see that it has mentioned this item doesn't belong to any service contract as of now. Now, okay. You can see that this item, service item number 45 is created. Now if I go to service item, test item 45, let's see. Okay, you can see that the number and the description, everything is automatically filled. The customer is automatically filled. Now I'll just leave that code here and I'll show you the first method, because first method is little important to show you. I'll go to sales order. Okay, so this was the second method which I've shown you through sales code. And the third method was individually creating a new service item. Now I believe the most common method would be automatic creation of service item whenever I post a shipment. So I'll go to sales order. We'll take the customer. Okay, I'll take the item. Take the quantity. Okay, so I have taken an item. This is server blade type. So this is a server of type blade. So just I'll post it. Let's post this shipment. Okay, so this is posted. Now let's go to service item and let's check whether a service item is automatically created or not. So I'll go to order processing. I'll go to service items. Now what was the description? Server. So you can see server blade type is automatically created. Now I'll show you the service card. Let's edit it. Now here you can see the description is there, the item number. This item number is the actual item number. This is already auto-filled here. And the service item group code is already filled here. Now why this item is automatically created? Because in this particular item, this service item group is tagged. And under this service item group, create service item boolean is checked. Now I have also gone through item card multiple times, but before service module, I was not aware of service module. I was overlooking this field, service item group. It was always there, but it was not visible to me. So service item group, it is tagged here. So now we can identify what is the importance of this field. Okay, so I'll just skip it. Now these things are filled. Now service price group code belongs to that model which I'm leaving, so I'm leaving it for now. Variant code, you can tag the variant code, or serial number, you can put it here. Status, this is installed, own service item, temporarily installed and defective. So own service item is, for example, it's quite obvious that if you have an item of your own, you're trying to perform a service on this, then you can keep it as your own service item. And if it is installed at the customer site, that is installed. And if it is temporarily installed, it means you have given it for a demo purpose or something, and it was defective. That piece was initially defective, so you have to keep it as temporarily installed. Okay, and defective means the piece, whatever the piece was manufactured from the manufacturer day itself, it was defective. It means it was not sent to the customer site, but that piece being manufactured, QC was also done, but it was defective. So now you want a maintenance and you can resell it. So that's why. So for this status, there's no validation or there's no other importance of this field. Just as an information purpose, you can tag it. Now service item component, it may be possible that this service item which I'm creating is a component of another service item. For example, hard disk is still can be a service component, but this service component belongs to another component which is laptop. So in this way it will come as yes. Now response time, again you can see that it is auto filled as 8. Why? Because in this only the response time was filled, so that's why it has been filled. And the priority we can set as low, medium and high. And the warranty starting, ending date, and again the warranty percentage part, you can set these things. Now preferred resources. Preferred resources, you can set it here. Now when I clicked on preferred resources, you can see that I get these resources, and under these resources I can see that only these two are the skilled resources for this type of service item. This type of service item means this is a network type of service item, and for this GS, that is Gulshan Shubham, and Mark Hansen was skilled. Now I can, for example, I'll tag myself as the preferred resources here. Now the customer will be auto-filled and the shipping address will be auto-filled, and the vendor, this is not important, but for example, if that service item which you have sold is a trading type of item, you don't manufacture it, so you can tag it just to know that you have bought it from that particular vendor. So you can just simply tag it here. Now the sales unit cost and sales unit price, you can see that I haven't filled it. It got auto-populated straight from the item card. So whatever unit cost and unit price was on the item card, it got filled. Now the installation date, it took as the work date. The unit of measure got from the item. All these things got auto-filled. Hence, we got one service item ready to being serviced on. Now I'll just click on this. Now what I'll do, I'll go to service order. Now let's say a repair item or a service item has come to us and we want to perform a complete end-to-end service on that. So I'll go to service order. You can go to service quote, and similarly like we do for sales quote, the screen is similar, the process is similar, but in the sales order we have few more fields, so hence it will be easier to show in that. So I'll straight go to the service order, but the process is totally similar to how we convert a sales quote to a sales order. So let's create new. Take the customer. Take the service item. Service item was this. Now you can see that here the customer filter is also there. So it's quite obvious that you have to tag it to a particular customer, and only under that customer the items will be visible. For example, if I haven't selected customer number 10,000, then this server blade wouldn't be visible here. Okay, so I'll select this one. Now after selecting this one, the item number, the service group code, everything, initial repair service status for everything got autofill. Okay, now invoicing and shipping tab are the same, nothing different from sales order. I'll just minimize it. Now the details tab here we have in the warning status, for example, like we have initially, you can also have it filled there in the document as well. And link service to service item, though it was in the setup, if I have checked it there, then it will be automatically as true here. But also in the document, per document also you can change it, you can update it. Now the allocated hours, 0, number of allocations 0. It means this service order is not allocated to any of the resources for working. Hence the number of unallocated items is 1, because in this particular service item I have one item to service, only one on networking service. Okay, so that's why one item is there. Service zone code M by default. Now, how this service zone M system identified? Again, this also I never noticed in particular. In if you go to customer, then on the customer card you'll see that the service zone code is there. Example, if I'll go to this customer, if I'll edit it, you can see the service zone code. So this service code, zone code, has this significance in service model. Now, because this is tagged in here in the customer card, it flows to the service module in the service order header. And because of this, when I'll be assigning any resource to the service order, I'll be able to assign it for the correct reason. Okay, so go to the line part. Now order date and time will be automatically populated. Now expected finishing date, if you want to put any in this, that by what time or date you expect it to get finished, you can put it there. Starting date and time, you can put it there. And the finishing date time, these fields will get automatically populated when actual work starts from this. Okay, so as of now I'm leaving it blank, and at the end you'll see it will get automatically populated. Now I'll just minimize this. Now here you can see notify to customer. I'll explain it in the end, and I'll show you how it works, and I'll explain it in the end. Now service order type for which I have created the item. Okay, so hardware service, permanent service, preventive maintenance, software and service. I can tag anything I want here. As of now I'm leaving it blank. Okay, I'll show you one of the validation I need to show. That's why I'm keeping it blank as of now. Now the response date and time automatically got filled because this is already tagged in the service item group, so it automatically got filled. It has the priority low in the service item, so all these things come from the service item straightforward. Now, so I have booked my service order. Now I want to assign it to a particular resource. What I need to do is, you remember the service order number is 13, so now I'll close it. Now the second part, like we say in ACE project, the task is created, it is in to do. Now I have to assign it to a particular resource. So I'll go to order processing, service module, and I'll go to planning and dispatching, and then I'll go to dispatch board. Okay, so under dispatch board I'll see allocation filter is there, no or partial allocation. So ours was 13 number, right? So here no or partial allocation means this task is either partially or not at all allocated to any resources. Full allocation means it has been allocated. Reallocation needed means it was allocated earlier, but now it is unallocated from that resource because maybe that resource was not able to do that task, or he is not present on that particular day. So initially it was assigned, but now a reallocation has to be done on that resource. So these three statuses are there. So I have filtered on this. Now I have multiple filters here, like on the particular resource you can filter, on particular customer you can filter, on particular status you can filter. Let's say for status is pending, so you can see only one record which I have for today. Particular zone wise, particular contact wise, particular sales order or service order wise you can filter. So multiple filters, whatever filter you say, it is there. So now I have got that response time is there, response date and time is there, and the priority is low, document type, everything, all the details are there. Okay, service zone code, number of allocations is 0 because this is not allocated. Reallocation needed is no. Okay, now I need to assign it to a particular resource, so I'll go to resource allocation. Here you can say the status currently is non-active because it is not assigned to a particular resource. Now I go to resource number. I'll select the resource to whom I want to assign it. So let's say I want to assign it to Linda. So I'll select Linda. Now it has given me a message that resource number Linda is not qualified to carry out the service. So this is the validation I was talking about, which I have created in the service setup. I have marked that a warning should be shown. So that comes into effect here. So okay, so Linda is not qualified. So let's see if Mark is qualified. Now Mark is qualified, but Mark is not working in the service zone code in which that service is needed. So again, I can't use him. Now let's see if Gulshan is qualified as well as in the service zone. So yes, I've selected. Now no message. It means everything is perfect. He's in the right service zone and he has the right skills. Now the allocation date, let's set today. So I'll be assigning the today's date. And the allocation hours, let's say he needs 3 hours for that. So 3 hours I've assigned. Okay, now you can see that the status has changed from non-active to active. Okay, it means that now this is assigned to this particular resource and the status is right now active. Also, there's one matrix view where you can see the resource availability. So you have just to click on show matrix. And here also you can see that the preferred resource are these, the skilled resources are this, who are in the customer zone. So yes and yes, these two in the customer zone. And what are the availability of these persons? For example, -3, it means -3 hours is already utilized for me. So this view also you can have an idea of the availability. Okay, now this is assigned. If I click on refresh, this record is gone. Why? Because the filter is no or partial allocation. So I'll just remove this filter. If I change this filter to full allocation, then the 13th number is there. Okay, so this is assigned. So you can see to whom it is assigned. Okay, now let's say I have assigned it to this person, but this person is due to any reason is not able to work on this. Now, as I told you, currently relocation needed is no. So if I need to cancel the allocation, then I go to again resource allocation. I need to go to cancel allocation. And if I go to cancel allocation, it will again ask me for a reason, and I can have the similar reason master which we have in the system. We have it here selected. So let's say resource on sick leave. So if I select it and if I put it yes, then the allocation will be cancelled, and then this status will be changing to reallocation needed. Now again I have to go and allocate another resource for that, so that again the status is back to active. So I'm not canceling it as of now, but this is how you do it. Now, so service order is created, it has been assigned to a concerned person. Now that concerned person starts working on that. So that person has to go to another screen which is called service task. Okay, so you can see 30 number is there. So again, here you have multiple filter like resource filter and the document type and the number filter and everything. So this one is there again, all the details are there. What you need to do, you need to go to item worksheet. So let's say the person has actually started working on it and he has found the resolution, he has done the repair, whatever things are required. Now he need to put it there that what are the things which has been utilized while doing this maintenance or repair. So he will go to the type, and for example, uh, he will put that he actually has 4 hours of his is utilized in this. So it put 4 hours. So he was allocated 3 hours, but he utilized 4 hours to work on this. Now, also he will say that I'll just minimize these. Now, also he'll say that an item was required because while working on this, he found some part was damaged, so a spare part was required. So let's say I'll select Ethernet cable, as this was a server. Let's say one Ethernet cable was put, so quantity 1. And what else? Let's say a cost. So let's say a start fee 160, as it is already defined in here. So you have four options: resource, item, cost, and GL. So you can put it here. So what happens, whatever the things which has been actually utilized while performing the service, the actual person has to put in here. After he has done it, he can simply change the status. Now, what are the repair or default system which I was talking about? You can fill in there: repair, fault code, and symptom code, and fault code and resolution code. I'm leaving it for now because this is a complete model, very in-depth module. So you can fill these for examples, like what was the fault. So you can just fill it there. It comes from, if you fill above details, for example, the fault area was, let's say, the mechanics. So you can fill it just simpler. But as of now, I'm leaving it because the in-depth part, and you have a better understanding when I go to fault reporting separately. Now, the repair status code is initial. Now I have worked on it. Now, when I start working on it, I can put it to in process. Let's say I have put it to in process first, and I have worked on it, and after I have worked on it, finally it is finished. So I am changing it to finished. Now you can see you have not specified the service order type or service header. So why this came up? Because in the service setup I have mentioned, if you go to service setup, just to recall, I'll show you. In the service setup, service order type mandatory. This I have checked it true. So that's why when I'm trying to complete this, I have been given an error that put this on service order. Okay. So it is not allowing me to complete. So what I need to do first, I need to go to that particular service order, and I have to put that service type first. Okay, so the service order type I intentionally left blank in the initial part. So I'll just hardware, let's say. Okay, okay. Now let's try to finish it. I hope no error occurs. Okay, so right now it's finished. Okay, so this one is now done. I'll click on OK. So now a service order was created. It was assigned to a particular resource. A resource has completely done the services, put everything which he has consumed in it. And now all these things are updated on the service order, because service order is the central document which needs to be posted after all these things are done. So let's go to service. Let's go to order processing. Let's go to service order. So 30 number, edit. Now, what I have shown you, that you need to go to dispatch board, you have to go to the service item, and I have shown you different screens. All those tasks which I have shown you through different screens, you can do through service order as well, instead of going through all different screens. So it depends on the customer how they want to have it. If they want separate screen from that, then they can have it. Now, if I go here, you can see that the starting date time and the finishing date time is updated here. Okay, 6/9/53 starting and 6/11/25 ending. So everything got updated from there only. Now if you go to one thing I should have done here. Okay, not an issue. Yeah, if you go to navigate and go to service lines, then you can see all the services and the resources and the cost which has been assigned to it. Okay, description, location, quantity, unit price. Now quantity to ship, quantity to invoice, and quantity to consume. Now quantity to consume is one extra column here which we haven't seen in the other part. Now, for example, if we don't want to invoice it, for example, let's say our mobile is in warranty. So if we give it for repair, then they don't charge it anything. So in that case, what they will do, they'll prepare a service order and they will not put it the quantity to invoice. They'll not put it under quantity to invoice. They'll put it under quantity to consume. Okay, they'll put it like this. So if they'll put it under quantity to consume, that will not be invoiced. Okay, so for now I'm putting it under quantity to invoice. So here you can see all the lines, the activities which has been assigned. Now the another is service document log. Like we have change log in the system, you can say for the service item we have a separate log in which you can have everything on the complete tracking of the service item from the time the order is created to the time when the resource is allocated, when the status is changed, what was before and what was the new status, everything. This is important because as I told you that in service module, the delivery, the timely delivery of the task is important. So that's why all these additional things are provided on the screen. So service document log is a good feature to track the complete status. Now, apart from that, there is one notify customer. Now, right now, notify customer is set to no. It means if I have set it to by email, let's say, now if I have set it to by email and if I have finished a particular service order, then automatically a mail will be sent to that particular customer's contact. Now, when I change the status, and you can see that the status is automatically changed to finished because in the service section, I have changed it to finished. So these in the service order header, you don't have to manually change it. So whoever the person who is in the charge of service order will see everything updated automatically. This email part I'll show you separately in another document because initially it was set to no. And also all these shipments and is there. Here, after everything is done, after you are ready to ship the item or the repaired item, you can click on release to ship. Okay, now you can see the status is changed to release to ship. Now after that, I'll just show you preview posting of that. Now ship, invoice, ship and invoice, these are the three common booleans which we see in purchase and sales as well, but ship and consume is the third part. As I told you, if I don't want to invoice this, then I have to put in ship and consume. Now let's see the ledger entries which is different from the sales and purchase module which we see. So if I click on ship, if I click on OK, let's just understand the different ledger entries which we get here. Now we are familiar with item ledger entry, we are familiar with value entry, but resource ledger entry, service ledger entry, warranty ledger entry is also there. Now resource ledger entry, for example, entry type is usage because I'm just doing a shipment of it. If I am not invoicing, as I told you, it will come to usage. So that's why it comes to usage. Simple for and usage. Now, if you go to service ledger entry, now shipment type, entry type users, document type shipment. Here the service item actually serviced, which is our service item code number, and this is the actual item number. Okay, and the item resources and the service cost, what three items we have taken, all these three are shown here. Okay, and this is the warranty ledger entry. It happens basically because we mark that item that it is under warranty, so that's why a warranty ledger entry is differently generated here. Now if I try to preview it using ship and invoice, then you'll see a minor difference. See, now GL entry is there, obviously, because now I'm invoicing it. Now here I have got two. Why? first when I was shipping it, and the second is for sale as I'm invoicing it. So that's why the entry type is sale. And I'll go to service ledger entry. You can see earlier it was 3, now the count is 6. Now you can see for the users type it is shipment, for the sales type it is invoice. Okay, so you can understand it like the expected cost and the actual cost. Okay, now you can just simply post it, and once you post it, so like in the sales order we get posted sales shipment and posted sales invoice. Similarly here we'll get so posted service order and posted service invoice. So let's just post it.
Just hold on, Gulshan.
Hmm.
Uh, just do ship and consume for once.
Ship and consume. Okay, then I'll have to just do one change. Invoice. Ship and consume. Okay, so it is posted. Now
I
if I
actually
want
was
to
saying to preview post it, not to post it.
maybe
Okay, no
post it.
issues.
Okay. Okay, now I shall go to this and then archive and then posted service shipment. Here you can see the second one. The first one I create in the morning, the second one is created. Again, similarly, like in sales module you do, you can view it here and you can navigate it. So it's similar to that. The one missing part which I earlier missed, I'll just show you. So this marks the complete end from from service order to assigning it to actual work being happen and then invoicing it or consuming it. But one of the mail part which I have mentioned, the automatic sending of the mail, I'll just show you through one transaction, shows through a service order. Okay, this time I'm keeping it as notify by email. Let me just select any item here. Let's say this one. Okay, and this time what I'll do, I just manually change it to show you. I'll manually change the status. So before that, I'll have to select it. Otherwise, it will not allow me to change it to finish. Now, status pending, I'll change it to finish. Okay, the customer will be notified as requested because service order 14 is now finished. You have to click on OK. Now at this moment, the mail is not instantaneously sent. You have to go to email queue. And here you can see the status is blank, and the sending time and sending date is here, or the two addresses here, and the subject line and the body line is there. So the good part is that you can edit these two and keep it as you want, and the customized as per your customized email body and email line. And then you have to click on send email. So after you confirm all these things, you have to just click on send email. So I'll click on send email. It will take 3 to 4 seconds, I believe, and the status will be updated to processed. So now you can see the status is updated to processed. It means that now the mail has been sent successfully. Now, so whatever mail has been sent to the customer, it will be visible, always visible here in the email queue, and it is processed. It means it has been successfully sent. Now, it must be in my mail now. Let's just check it here. See, 6:23, I've got a mail. Okay. If I click on it, you can see that the mail body is we have finished carrying out service order subject line, and you can collect your service items when it is convenient for you. So this mail I have received. So this marks the complete, means there's still a lot of things in service module, like the contract part is still there. That is also a very big part. And the fault reporting is a complete module, which is in depth. We have the option to upload a complete Excel. The Excel which I have shown you, I can upload an Excel similar to that in the system as per the iris codification. So those two parts are also there, as well as the loaner part is also there. So I'll just explain the concept what a loaner is. Loaner is any item which can act as a replacement item. For example, let's say I'm working on this hard disk. This is corrupt, so I'm working on this hard disk. So meanwhile, I provide the customer with my hard disk or a new hard disk. And when I perform the repair and then I return it to him, then I'll get that back, which is mine. So that item is called a loaner item. So that loaner concept is also there in the system. That also I haven't shown you, because you must have noticed that 1.5 hour I have took and I'm able to complete that much. So it's in quite detail, and also 1.5 hour more would be needed if I'll cover everything. So this much for today. So now you can ask any questions if you want.